four-time champ, nutrition53.com, my buddy Bill Romanowski joining us. Okay, now having played for the Raiders, are you still a Raider guy?
You know what, I am. I do pre- and post-game for them, as you know, and, I want to see them do well. I want to root for the underdog, and, over the last 10 years, they've definitely been an underdog. They haven't performed very well, so, I'd like to see them get back on top.
Do you think Derek Carr, they just named him the starting quarterback. Bill, they've had 18 quarterbacks in 11 years. Is he finally the guy?
You know what? I think it's going to take time. I don't think you're going to know from a great preseason game, against the Seattle Seahawks, and all of a sudden say, oh, this guy is going to be the next Peyton Manning. No, it's going to take time. There's going to be a lot of bumps in the road, but this guy gave him a spark, and he's got an arm, and he's really smart, and he's a pro, and he really is. After talking with the quarterback coach, John DeFilippo, he said just a very mature man, and he's ready to take on the role.
I've been telling our audience this morning is that in the end, Michael Sam was never going to be a dominating player. And when you get to the end of the line with cuts, and St. Louis has a lot of talent on the defensive front, when you get to the end of the line, he doesn't play special teams. He played linebacker a little in college, but he can in the NFL. There's a lot of things. He's not a great athlete. In the end, he's kind of a niche player, and there's a bunch of them got cut this weekend. Some people are upset. Are you surprised?
You know what? I think there was a part of me that, when I saw the highlight tape of him, you're like, wow, this guy looks really good. He should be playing somewhere in the NFL, but, the distraction of the other piece, I think is really hard for teams to get over. I don't think a lot of teams, they're not going to tell you that, but I just know it is hard for them to get over the distraction, and that's what it would be, because really what the NFL is all about is getting 53 guys focused and going in the same direction without distractions. And it's hard with everything that goes on to have those kind of distractions in the locker room.
It's funny because Tony Dungy said that, and the media was outraged and said that distraction is bigotry. And I said at the time, Tim Tebow is a Christian. So if you juxtapose him with Michael Sam, socially the opposite. And the truth is, I still think Tim Tebow could make the NFL. He's a good enough athlete. But I think distraction, fair or not, is a term I use for Tim Tebow. The reality is, I think I feel better about myself if socially the NFL wasn't as caveman-esque. But, Bill, you've been in those locker rooms. There's still some cavemen in those locker rooms, is there not?
Oh, of course there is. That's part of the culture that, when you leave the NFL, there's a part of you that misses the locker room more than anything. And it's just that stuff that used to happen that was so raw, so real. It was fun. It was awful when you look back at it to think of some of the things you would say and do, but it's just the reality of that environment.
Yeah. Bill Romanowski, four-time champ, nutrition53.com. The last day of 50% off sales is today. Now this offseason, now you can't grab the receivers. Increasingly, there are flags. Go take me to your career and the current NFL, where even in the offseason, they added another situation that was anti-defense. Do you think defensive players now are being kind of marginalized where they're really frustrated? The game's not built for Bill Romanowski anymore.
No, you're right, because that's the first thing I do. Going up against a guy like Tony Gonzalez, I used to have to maul him on the line of scrimmage, and I'd get 5 yards to maul him, but I would usually maul him a little bit more than that, and I'd get called once or twice a game. And you can really thank Seattle for this, because the way they played defense last year was there's no way they're going to call a penalty on every play. But you could almost look at the way they played defense, and their defensive backs, how aggressive they were. They just took on that mentality, well, it's all right. They're going to call us. We'll probably get, 4 or 5 calls a game, but we're not going to get 15. Well, this year, with what we saw in preseason, you just might get 15.
Yeah. So I look at the San Francisco 49ers, you're part of the country, and it's just one player getting in trouble after another. But is that a bad thing? How do the players see these, whether it's domestic, whether it's DUI, whether it's a weapons, how do guys see that in the locker room? Does that have because a lot of times that's common in NFL locker rooms.
You know what? When it doesn't happen, it's always better. Because what we just talked about earlier were distractions that keep you from being focused, keep you from, it's like the coaches have to worry about with McDonald's. Okay, how many games is he going to be out? We already had to deal with Aldon Smith. Navarro Bowman's not back yet from his injury. So, these things, it's hard for teams to get through. It really is. The great ones, the coaches that can handle it the best, hey, those are the teams that usually, will win year after year. But these kind of distractions are hard for teams. Hey, guys understand there are issues that go on, especially when guys are partying and, maybe they get a DUI or something like that. They understand, hey, I was with him and he seemed all right, but it doesn't take much. So at the end of the day, Colin, it's distractions. You got to eliminate them, and I really do think this is going to hurt San Francisco.
Nutrition53.com. Good talking to you, Romo.
Awesome, Colin. Take care.
You bet.
Saturday night, the NASCAR season comes down to Richmond. After 6 grueling months of racing, the playoffs are just a week away. Newman, Biffle, Boyer, and Kyle Larson have one more shot to lock up a spot in the all-new Chase. 43 drivers battle, 16 advance, 1 race to go. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Richmond, Saturday at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific on ABC, presented by AutoZone.